Another interesting day in the college football world. It's been unusually active, especially for nearing the end of the year, as far as hires, extensions, firings, all that stuff. Of course, the conference championships, they're coming up, so that's something big for college football that's about to happen. And then that'll lead into the playoffs and the bowls. So it's an exciting time of the year when it comes to the end of the season and the bowls and the championships and the playoffs and all that stuff. But as far as teams hiring new coaches and extending current coaches or firing previous coaches, usually this is not the time of year that happens. There's certain time spans where these are, more normal than other times. And right now, it's not normal for all these hirings. But I'll take it because activity is good for a college football YouTube channel. Off season can get interesting and a little bit tricky. But if you've been here at Going Unbluted for any amount of time, you know that even though it's the off season for college football, there's never an off season for Going Unbluted. And I still put out videos every single day, even in the off season. Now, what does help, I will say this. What does help is when March Madness rolls around, that can cover a month or two because of conference tournaments and then the big dance, national championship, all that stuff. And West Virginia looks like they have a good basketball team, so that's going to be that's going to be something exciting to cover this year. Not so much last year. What about all these coaches going to different spots? A lot of these, I kind of figured it could happen, and some of these others didn't see it happening at all. Y'all don't forget to hit the like button. Really helps these live shows, helps them hit the YouTube algorithm and gets us suggested more, and that's how we grow your audience. So when you hit the like button, you're not just helping me, you're also helping yourself. And if you have a comment for me or anybody else in the comment section, you want everybody else to see it, Super Chat's the best way to do it. And it's a great way to support the channel. We appreciate all the donations and all the support. That's what helps keep this thing going all the time, because I don't take a day off. You're going to ask anybody. I don't take a day off. Even if there's nothing going on, I will make something. I will make something entertaining. Not lie or anything like that. Make up something, but I'll create content somehow, some way. If ESPN can do it, so can Going Unbluted. And that was actually the dare that got me to doing videos every day. Me and my brother were talking, and I said, I bet you I can make a video every day. He's like, what about the off season? Well, I mean, you go over to ESPN.com. They got something on there every day in the off season. If they can do it, I can do it. I don't know about that, man. YouTube's a different animal. Challenge accepted. And we've done that. So I think 2 years straight. There was one stretch I was able to do videos every day whenever I got the flu and whenever I got COVID. But, man, when I get the stomach bug, I cannot get out of bed. And I had vertigo. So there was no way that I was going to be laying in bed and hold the phone up while I'm doing videos with my head on the pillow. I literally could not get out of the bed. That is the only time that I stopped doing videos. So, anyways, on to today's news and really this past week's news. So the first thing is Nebraska goes out and gets Matt Rhule. I think this is exactly what they needed to do. They needed to make a splash hire. They needed somebody that could bring back a program quickly because they've been trying to get back for a while now. They made the bad mistake of firing Bo Pelini because they thought they were better than the 10-win season, winning the Big Ten West. No, we can do even better than that. We can get to the playoffs. Well, the game has changed, and it seems like you didn't make a good hire, and maybe Bo Pelini could have gotten you to the next step if you'd been a little bit more patient. So now Nebraska is trying to get back to where they were with Bo Pelini. Matt Rhule is the coach that can get you past that level. I think Matt Rhule can get Nebraska back to the Big Ten championship, possibly sniffing the playoffs. I mean, whenever he took over Baylor, he went 1-11 in his first season at Baylor. Baylor did not have hardly any talent over there. They were a bad, bad football team, very bad football team. And by the time he left, they were 11-3, winning the Big 12. So I think he's the perfect hire. The only thing that maybe Nebraska needs to be leery of is he does love the money. So if a bigger name and more money comes along, then he's probably going to bounce. I'm just giving you a fair warning. Hopefully he leaves you on a good foundation like he did with Baylor. I mean, we can see Baylor, having success, continued success under Dave Aranda. Slight step backwards this year, but still 6-6, getting to a bowl. That's not horrific. So he laid a pretty good foundation for Baylor. So hopefully, if it does turn into a stepping stone type of situation for Nebraska, at least maybe he can leave a good foundation to where you can still succeed after he's gone, because he's already proven, whenever the bigger money comes, he's leaving. So that's the only thing you got to keep your eyes on with Matt Rhule. I think it's a good hire. If I had to give it a grade, I would say a B+, A-, something like that. It's not like the perfect hire, but it's a pretty good one. I think he meets all the needs as far as what you need now and what he can set you up for later. John Waffle, that's a good point. If Penn State comes open, he's definitely gone. I don't know if he's definitely gone, but the likelihood of him leaving rises significantly. And then there was Wisconsin hiring Luke Fickell. That one surprised me. I did not see that one coming. I think everybody knew that eventually Luke Fickell was going to make the jump back to the Power 5 coaching rankings. And he was at the top of the list. Everybody wanted Luke Fickell. He's proven his worth. He's done tremendous things at Cincinnati. And if you're a Cincinnati fan watching this live show, I'm sorry. This is not trash talk. This is facts. It's going to hurt losing Luke Fickell. It's going to hurt losing Luke Fickell. I promise you that. It's going to hurt. I'm not saying you can't come back from it. I'm not saying you can't have success later on down the road. Of course you can. Make a good hire and boom, you can come back. But immediately, it's going to hurt. Luke Fickell is a good head coach, and he's taken Cincinnati to heights that they've never seen. They're recruiting at a high level. And I know a lot of Cincinnati fans right now, well, no, we recruited at a high level, and we're going to the Big 12. That's not too terrible of a power conference. It's winnable. I agree with that for the most part, but Luke Fickell is a great head coach. It's going to hurt, and it's going to take some adjustment. Remember, whenever he took over Cincinnati, his first season at Cincinnati was 4-8. That's a long time ago. A lot of people have forgotten about that, but it's a fact. Cincinnati went 4-8. Now, he tried out at Ohio State, didn't work out, but I think he's ready. But the thing about this is I was not expecting him to go to Wisconsin. Like this one, what? I was either expecting him to try to wait out Ryan Day at Ohio State, which, they've lost to Michigan 2 years in a row. There's starting to be rumbles over there at Ohio State. I don't think they're going to fire Ryan Day anytime soon, but they're not happy with him right now. That's the best way I can put it. And Penn State would have been another name that I think he could have waited for, although James Franklin, he had a big bounce back year this year, as I predicted. So Michigan, I mean, you never know. Jim Harbaugh, he could get that itch and want to go back to the NFL. He talked to Minnesota 2 years ago before they, adjusted his contract. So if he gets that itch, he might bounce. So I thought Luke Fickell, yes, would end up in the Big Ten, but more on the east side, like Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, somewhere like that. So I'm fairly surprised at Luke Fickell going to Wisconsin. The grade that I would give this is a solid A, or A-, maybe A, close to an A. Probably just a little bit better than Matt Rhule at Nebraska. Not much at all, but just a little bit. I love it. I'm very surprised that Wisconsin was able to attract him out of Cincinnati. I didn't see it coming. So good job, Wisconsin. Surprised the heck out of me. That was big time news, and you did a great job. Wonderful job. Then there's the news coming out today. Auburn. They do go out and get Hugh Freeze. What? I heard that Auburn and Hugh Freeze have been talking for like weeks now, and he's actually turned them down multiple times. I also heard in an interview where he listed a bunch of criteria, and Auburn hardly checked any boxes. Really, the only box that they checked was a smallish college town. That was it. All the other criteria that he laid out, they did not check the box. So that one, yeah, I'm fairly surprised on that one. Now, Auburn does have a lot of money, right? Money always talks. Maybe that was it. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other factors that could have contributed to this, because he's going to have to deal with boosters, and the Auburn boosters are way worse than the Ole Miss boosters. It's a great move on the part of Auburn. I honestly didn't see it happening. I didn't think that Auburn would be able to grab him. Exactly, John. No mountains in Alabama, and that was a big criteria. I love living in the mountains, and there's only a select few in my mind. So I'm guessing Auburn was a part of the select few, even though they're not in the mountains. Dude, now that interview makes absolutely no sense. No sense. That interview that you did, and they asked you about, if a Power 5 team came a calling, and you gave the criteria and only a select few. Now it makes absolutely no sense, because Auburn didn't meet any of that criteria. So I don't even know anymore. It shocked me. I thought when he had a small list, it could have been a list of maybe like a Virginia Tech, because it's in the state of Virginia, mountains, Penn State. Never know, West Virginia, right? Let's see, what's another good one, but still in the mountain? Tennessee. Tennessee would have checked the boxes on that one. Kentucky would have checked the boxes. I don't know. It just, Auburn didn't make a lot of sense as far as the boxes that he gave to check, and Auburn not checking those boxes. I will give the hire an A, though. That's a solid A. That's a really good hire for Auburn. And I do think Hugh Freeze is going to have Auburn back sooner rather than later. He did a tremendous job at Ole Miss. Not only did he win quickly at Ole Miss, but he was also the coach that laid a good foundation for a guy like Hugh Freeze. Or not Hugh Freeze, excuse me. I'm talking about Hugh Freeze. A guy like Lane Kiffin to come along and have success as well. So, yeah, this is a good now move for Auburn, but it's also a good future move for Auburn, because he's going to be good for the future of Auburn, as long as he learned his lesson from Ole Miss and doesn't start using call girls to try to get recruits. 80% of what he did at Ole Miss covered under the NIL. You're good to go, except for the call girls. You still can't do that, Hugh Freeze, all right? So knock it off. Don't do that, and you'll be just fine. So the Hugh Freeze hire at Auburn, I'll say Hugh Freeze hire at Auburn, I'll say an A, solid A. Matt Rhule hire at Nebraska, B+, almost an A-. And then Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, A-, almost an A. So all three of those really good hires. And as a West Virginia fan, I am now officially concerned. John Waffle says, Auburn's a blue blood, West Virginia is not. Actually, both of them are not blue bloods. Auburn is not a blue blood in football, sorry. That's the other team in Alabama. But Auburn does have a lot more money than West Virginia. So if that's the point you're trying to make, then yes, Auburn definitely has more money. And Auburn does have a recent-ish national championship with Cam Newton. There you go. So the options for West Virginia, let's see, Hugh Freeze, Luke Fickell. Well, I kind of sort of talked about Luke Fickell. Definitely Matt Rhule. Definitely two of the options that I've talked about that I was super high on off the board. Luke Fickell, we went after him the first time, so I didn't really talk about him that much. So that leaves Lance Leipold, who signed an extension with Kansas. That's not a good sign. And Tom Herman. Outside of that, then we're talking about, trying to replace Neil Brown with a super good group of 5 coach and taking the same avenue as we just tried? I'm not sure, guys. The bottom line for West Virginia is two things. The first thing is either we need to go out and pay Power 5 money for a Power 5 coaching staff now, or if we do go out and get a quality group of 5 coach, eventually if they're worth anything and they start having success, later we'll end up having to pay them Power 5 money. There's no way around it. We're going to have to start paying Power 5 money if we want to have Power 5 success. None of this 4.5, maybe 5 million if you're really good here. No, that's not going to cut it. West Virginia can most certainly afford 6 to 7 million a year. Hopefully getting rid of Shane Lyons solves some of that. I didn't have any dislike for Shane Lyons. I didn't like the fact that he wouldn't back off of extending Neil Brown. He stood behind it. He thought it was the right decision. He was not firing Neil Brown for any reason. Not going to happen. I didn't like that one aspect, okay? I didn't like that one aspect. But now I don't like the dude. I don't like Shane Lyons at all. He's basically going around starting issues. Oh, woe is me. I thought they were my friends, and then they go and fire me. This and that. We all agreed on extending Neil Brown, so why they fired me when we all agreed on it, I don't know. At West Virginia over there, man, they're close to breaking rules with that Country Roads Trust. Man, dude, you are a snake in the grass. I will say that West Virginia dropped the ball and didn't make him sign something saying that he couldn't make disparaging remarks. That was stupid, West Virginia. You're firing a guy. He's going to be mad. He's probably going to say some negative things. You might want to get something drawn up to where he's going to sign that. But apparently that didn't happen, and now Shane Lyons is bouncing around trying to spread rumors, false information, and sheer nonsense. Now, there's two separate interviews. There was a Hoppy interview and the 247 interview. The 247 one really got me fired up because he said, I thought these guys were my friends. They said that there's going to be pressure on us, but there's nobody but me that they would love to be in the foxhole with. And it just seems like they turned around and stabbed me in the back. They fired me. I took the heat for the decision of the entire group because I wasn't the one that made the decision. It was the decision of everybody. And on top of that, he singled people out. It was definitely Gordon Gee that fired me and the interim AD. It wasn't the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors did sign off on it and okayed it, but they didn't make the decision. Who cares who made the decision and who okayed it? You're fired. John Waffle, thank you for the donation, says, dude, W has been a corrupt program for years. I am agreeing with you on that. That goes back to whenever Rich Rod asked for a raise back in 2007, which is the entire reason why he left West Virginia. Rich Rod asked for a raise at West Virginia, a raise that he knew West Virginia had. Something is not right in Morgantown. I'm telling you, there's two different coaches that asked for a raise, money that they knew West Virginia had, and West Virginia denied both of them. Now, Dana Holgorsen, I'm glad West Virginia denied him. He's not a good head coach. But Rich Rodriguez, my gosh, if we would have ponied up and he would have stuck around, how would West Virginia be viewed now? Would we be a part of the SEC by now? I don't know. See, this is what's really irritating. That money is going somewhere. I don't know where. Somebody please figure that out. Because that money could be going to the football coaching staff to get a good coaching staff, keep Rich Rod, or go out and get somebody good, right? But instead, where's it going? Into the pockets of corrupt individuals? What is going on in Morgantown? I don't know. And Shane, don't get me wrong. Shane Lyons isn't revealing the truth and pulling back the curtain and showing everybody. No, he was actually part of the problem. All right. I've heard a bunch of crazy things. I heard that he wanted to build a a new press box with his name on it. I mean, money going all over the place. There's multiple reasons why Shane Lyons was fired at West Virginia. And here's the kicker. So in the interview with 247, he was asked about Neal Brown, and he was like, yeah, Neal Brown would definitely still have a future at West Virginia for sure. I think he checks all the boxes. Well, except for the major box, and that's wins. You think? You think? That's why you were fired, doofus. You got to be kidding me. You're blaming everybody. I honestly don't know why I was fired, because everybody's saying I was doing such a great job. Football was, okay, I guess. Neal Brown, great head coach. I don't know why. 5-7 is not good. 5-7 is poverty. Poverty is bad. It's bottom of the barrel. 5-7 is the same record that Neal Brown had his first year at West Virginia. He had a bunch of excuses his first year. Cupboard was bare. Dana Hargison focused on JUCO, so recruiting was down. Facilities needed help. There was a bunch of excuses, and I gave him some time. West Virginia is actually recruiting at a decent level since he took over, and the facilities are top-notch. Even Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, said some of the best facilities in the entire Big 12. He's ran out of excuses. This is not year 2. It's not even year 3. This is year 4. Year 4, 5-7, that's unacceptable. And like an idiot, I predicted West Virginia to go 9-3. An idiot. That was a stupid prediction. My reasoning behind it, well, thought the defense was going to be all right. I mean, we've lost people in the past in the offseason, right? And the defense was all right. So I wasn't really thinking about the defense. The defense was not my concern. Everybody's concern was the offense. And we went out and got a good offensive coordinator, Graham Harrell. He's good. He's good. I like him. That attracted JT Daniels. Oh, man, this is looking great. Really good. I'm loving it. Season kicks off. Immediately, we see bad decision-making by Neal Brown. 4th and freaking inches, and you could have a chance to put the game away, and you literally, not figuratively, you literally give the ball back to Pitt. If you go for it there, you get it, and you get to ice the game. But no, you literally give the ball back to Pitt. Neal Brown did not, he said he realized the importance and how important this is to West Virginia and the backyard brawl and biggest stage, national television, blah, blah, blah. No, sir. You did not understand how important that game was. If for 1 second you fully realized how important that backyard brawl is, you would have went for it. But no, you went into analytics and percentages. Well, we have a better chance of stopping them if we punt instead. See, that's loser mentality. You're basically what if we don't? No, you don't think about what if we don't get 4th down. No, 4th and inches, go for it. You know you're getting it. So that tells me you had a loser mentality, and you most certainly did not realize how important the backyard brawl was in West Virginia. I'm sorry, sir. I call BS. Martin77, thank you for the donation, says, yo, USC can win the Natty. Yes, they can. I'm telling you, USC is flying under the radar. I got my eyes on you guys. Georgia struggled against some weak teams. Michigan and TCU, no one has really been dominant. That is the problem with this year, for sure. I disagree with John Waffle as far as USC overrated in weak Pac-12. Pac-12 is actually one of the best conferences this year. This is not the normal Pac-12, guys. You got Oregon. You got Oregon State. You got USC. UCLA's good this year. Utah, yeah, they're good again. Washington, 6 really good teams. And then even at the next level, you have Washington State. Arizona's much improved. And then, of course, the bottom feeders, Stanford, Cal, and Arizona State. Colorado is really bad. But that upper echelon of the Pac-12, Pac-12 looks good, guys. I don't know what Pac-12 y'all are watching. I think y'all have been kind of brainwashed because of the past 5-6 years. And I totally get it. I understand it. I am not trash talking y'all for that. But it's better than y'all realize. And we're talking about an 11-1 USC whose only loss was a 1-point loss on the road to Utah, and they will get a chance to play that same team, avenge that loss, get revenge, and head to the playoffs. And USC has a really good offense, guys. I know Caleb Williams gets most of the hype, but Travis Dye, my gosh, I think Travis Dye might be a more important pickup than Caleb Williams. And I know Caleb Williams is Heisman Trophy contender, all this stuff, but Travis Dye has taken a ton of pressure off of Caleb Williams. Now the defenses have to respect the run game, and Caleb Williams, of course, dual threat quarterback, he can take off whenever he wants, and he has a great arm. USC's defense is a little bit of a problem. They are 61st in points allowed, 26.3, but they do score 42.5 points per game, which is third. And like I mentioned earlier, their only loss was a road loss to Utah. But bad news for USC fans, and this really makes no sense to me. I guess they're going by the fact that USC lost already to Utah, even though it was a road game, and it was by 1 point because of a 2-point conversion. I don't know. If you don't know, then brace yourself. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Give me 1 second. So, I looked at the where is it? There we go. I looked at the FPI. Where'd it go? There, nope, not week 13. There we go. Yes, stupid ESPN. So I looked at the FPI predictor, that gives out the percentages. This blew my mind, guys. Y'all see that? They're giving Utah the percentage? What? I'm sorry. I don't understand that. All right, come back into focus. There you go. There you go. I understand that USC lost to Utah earlier. I understand that. But that was earlier in the season. Utah now has 3 losses. That was only a 1-point loss by USC, and it was on the road. 1-point loss on the road earlier in the year. Right now, USC definitely looks like the better team. Utah, and on top of that, they're definitely not factoring in how difficult it is to beat a good team twice. So that makes it even worse. No, Utah is not better than USC. They beat USC, but once again, home game, 1 point, 2-point conversion. It's not like they blew out USC. I think USC is going to give Utah a lot of trouble this time. I think USC could win convincingly, like double digits, a couple touchdowns. So I'm not understanding the FPI. What's the spread? Because I'm trying to figure out what they use to factor into this. So USC is actually favored by 3. So ESPN Analytics, what are you using? The spread is USC by 3, and I understand that. Utah beat them earlier at home, 1 point, blah, blah, blah. So I can understand a close spread in favor of USC. But what freaking analytics is ESPN using to give Utah the 61% chance of winning? I know that's not much, but if anybody should have 61%, it should be USC. It should be USC favored by 61%. That's not a huge landslide, but it's the right team at least. Martin77, thank you for the donation, buddy. Appreciate it. Only championship that has excitement is USC versus Utah. The other championship games, if they lose, they still get in the CFP. I disagree with you only for one game, and that's TCU and Kansas State. 2 locks. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. Who knows? I have 2 locks for the playoffs. Georgia and Michigan. It does not matter if they win or if they lose. Michigan and Georgia are heading to the playoffs. TCU is in a different situation just because of how they view the Big 12. Whether you like it or don't like it, it is what it is. If TCU loses and USC wins, and they start looking at Ohio State, yeah, they lost to Michigan. That was convincing. But Michigan's a playoff team. And let's say Michigan obliterates Purdue. Man, Michigan's a real good team. That's not a bad loss at all. And Ohio State travels well. Whenever the College Football Playoff Committee looks at Ohio State, dollar signs flash in front of their face. So if you really think about this. If you have an 11-1 or a 12-1 non-champion TCU, and on the other side, 11-1 non-champion Ohio State, who's going? Oof. I'll be right back. This snow hat's getting a little warm, so I'm going to change it to a regular hat. So give me 1 second. I guess somebody turned on the heat or something, man. I'm starting to get warm in here. But anyways, yes, I do think that there's a chance that TCU gets left out if they lose in the Big 12 championship. I wouldn't agree with it. I would have TCU as a lock, win or lose. They won 12 games. They went undefeated during the regular season. Upsets happen. Nobody else can say that besides Michigan and Georgia. I know Ohio State only has 1 loss, but they didn't finish the regular season undefeated. They didn't get to their conference championship. For some reason, common sense goes out the window when it comes to the playoff committee. So for TCU fans to feel good about getting to the playoffs, just win the Big 12 championship game. Just win the Big 12 championship game and do what you got to do. What did y'all think about my video earlier talking about conference championships? Some people agree with me. Some people don't. Whenever I see these 3 and 4 loss teams going up against 1 and undefeated teams, I'm like, this is pointless. An 8-4 Purdue playing an undefeated Michigan, that game's pointless to me. I do understand that doing away with divisions, that's going to help. That will help. You will make sure 100% that the 2 best teams will play each other. But you're going to have those years where the second best team is still going to have 3 or 4 losses. So the criteria that I laid out there for conference championships, and I know it's going to sound crazy. Oh, that makes no sense. They'll never do that. Well, I'm just explaining how my brain works. Whether you agree with me or not, I'm explaining to you how my brain works. All right. So for a conference championship, if the gap between first place and second place is larger than 1 game, in other words, somebody has 2 losses, somebody has 1 loss, play the conference championship. Somebody has 3 losses and somebody has 1 loss. The 1 loss gets crowned. Somebody has 4 losses, somebody has 1 loss. The 1 loss gets crowned. I just think it's pointless. I understand, well, you're giving the underdog a chance to win the conference championship. Yeah, but at the end of the day, can you really say that's the best team in this conference? Like, if Purdue upsets Michigan, technically they would be Big Ten champs, right? But overall, I mean, they're the best. Calling them Big Ten champs, no, they just got lucky on one game. That's the best way I can explain it. So I would use conference championship games as tiebreakers, and that's it. Or if there's a one-loss difference, then you play. That's pretty close. That actually makes sense. You could say that the two-loss team is the champion because they gave the other team their second loss. So they both end up with two losses, and of course the other team wins the head-to-head. That makes sense. But when you have a larger gap than that, it doesn't make sense. Just because one upset happened and the lesser team won, now they're the champion of that conference. That never made any sense. I understand it's a cash grab, it's a money grab, it's for TV ratings, but as far as having some meaning, no. I don't like it at all. Not at all. Honestly, I don't like the conference tournaments for basketball either. So most of the time, well, not most of the time, but a lot of the time, you'll have one regular season champion for the conference and then a second conference champion. Now, the one thing that makes the tournament better is that's an automatic bid. You win the conference, automatic bid. So whenever the playoffs expand and these conferences do away with their divisions, then maybe conference championships will make a ton of sense. Think about that. So from what I'm hearing, all the conferences will be doing away with their divisions. Pac-12's already done it. Big 12's already done it. ACC's doing it next year. Big Ten's either next year or the year after. And then finally, the last conference to cave, the SEC, they announced that they're going to do it as well, but they'll be the last ones to do it. So we are moving in that direction. Everybody's doing away with their divisions, and it will be the best team versus the second best team, not the winner of this division versus the winner. That never made any sense. That was stupid. So sometimes the winner of that division has 5 losses. What are you talking about? That's dumb. Sometimes one division is stacked and the other division sucks. Honestly, the Big Ten championship should be Ohio State versus Michigan, the rematch. Oh, that's a rematch. That's boring. Well, there's 2 other conference championships that have rematches, and you're not saying that about that. So you pick your poison, make up your mind. That's gonna be solved. So in the future, whenever the Big Ten does do away with these divisions, how many Michigan Ohio State rematches are we going to be seeing in the conference championships? I'm telling you, these are some things that I think about a lot that some people haven't thought about. That kind of blows your mind. But that's just how I think. So once the playoffs expand, yes, they're going to make a lot more sense. And we'll probably see a lot more rematches too, because a lot of these conferences, one division is always better than the other. Now, for the SEC, it's usually the SEC West, but this year that's been flipped upside down, and it's the SEC East. Of course, the Big Ten West, no show. Year after year after year, no show. That's why I'm glad that the Big Ten is doing away with it. I strongly disagree with Ohio State Michigan rematch being bad for TV ratings. Strongly disagree with that. I mean, we're talking about a historic rivalry, and now we get to see it twice. The second time is for a conference championship. No, that's not going to hurt ratings at all. I mean, the other 2 conferences, Pac-12 and Big 12, their rematches, that's not going to hurt ratings. Kansas State has already lost to TCU. They're still hyped up. Big 12 fans going to tune in. It's a big game. It really doesn't matter who. Like, people put too much emphasis on who's playing each other. My point is 2 best teams. It doesn't matter who those 2 best teams are. It doesn't matter if those teams have already played each other. If they're the two best teams, then they need to play each other. That's end of story. There is no argument around that. There is no argument around that. Whether you think it would suck, whether you think it'd be awesome, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's an Ohio State-Michigan rematch, Penn State-Michigan rematch, Nebraska-Iowa rematch. Doesn't matter who it is, as long as best team versus second best team. That's all that matters. That's it. That's all that matters. Now, the crazy thing for the SEC is they got a 3-loss LSU headed to the championship, SEC championship. And the way the way the rankings work, even though they have three losses, they only have 2 losses in the SEC. Alabama has 2 losses in the SEC, and of course LSU beat them, so they have the tiebreaker. So even though they have 1 more loss than Alabama, they only have 2 losses in the that gets on my nerves too. Like, stop with that. Do overall losses. That's what matters. It should be Alabama versus Georgia in the SEC championship. That's who it should be. What's the other? The NFL. The NFL does not go by how many division losses and how many division wins you have. They go by overall wins. So what the NFL has done, they separate the teams, conferences, and then divisions. So there is a separation. Just like college football, there's different conferences, different divisions. Those will be done away with. But still, you have the division. But the main difference is they count all wins and losses towards your record. But with college football, they only count your conference wins and losses towards the conference championship. Stop. Losses outside your conference should matter. It's still a loss. It's not like it didn't happen. LSU still lost to Florida State. It happened. Even though Florida State's not in the SEC, they still beat LSU. Ergo, it should be Alabama versus Georgia in the playoffs. I'm trying to think, who's the second best team in the SEC? Is it Tennessee? So if divisions were done away with in the SEC this year, it would actually be Tennessee and Georgia rematch. Oh, man. That would be great. Yeah, I understand that LSU beat Alabama, but LSU has 3 losses. Alabama only has 2. That's why I wish that college football would use the same record keeping as the NFL. It makes way more sense. And Alabama played a tougher schedule too. They went on the road and beat Texas, and LSU lost to Florida State, basically a home game. So the fact that they don't count out of conference, it's like they pretend it doesn't happen. So if divisions are done away with, right? Then in the SEC, it would be Georgia versus Tennessee in the rematch. I that would be exciting. I would be all for that. I'm not against rematches. I'm really not. I know I kind of tongue-in-cheeked it a little bit in the video, but I'm not against rematches as long as the rematch is between the 2 best teams. That's all that matters to me. When I see a championship of any caliber, I want to see the 2 best teams. That's it. 2 best teams. And when it comes to conference championships, there's no tournament or playoff or anything like that. It's just who has the best records. Well, get rid of conference-only records. Go by overall records, or you're still going to end up with teams with a couple more losses getting in the championship, even when you do away with divisions. Like this year, LSU. No. Okay, if you did away with divisions, all right, and you still counted records the way it is now, it actually still would be LSU versus Georgia. I didn't think about this because LSU stomped Tennessee. Yeah. Okay, so if you counted the record the way it is now, conference only, don't count out of conference wins and losses, in conference only, then it would still be Georgia versus LSU because LSU did beat Tennessee head-to-head. And this is why I think we should count out-of-conference losses, because I don't think that LSU is the second-best team. It's just that their third loss doesn't count because it's out of conference, and they had the tiebreaker win over Bama and Tennessee. Not the second-best team. So, oh, man. Yeah, your boy Jay, just get rid of conference champions. I would be not necessarily get rid of conference champions, but get rid of conference championships. Now, with the playoff expansion and automatic bids going to the top 6 champions, then that's going to make it more important than it's been in a while. So you got to keep that in mind. But the biggest rule that they have to do away with is that stupid not counting the out-of-conference losses. That's stupid. That's still a loss. It should count towards the overall record. It does for every other sport in the freaking world. Why does college football make up stupid rules? And I love that college football is different, the pageantry, the tradition, but some of these little weird rules and things that make it different are just stupid. It's stupid. Yeah, Tennessee blew out LSU on the road. I remember that game. That's what I said anyways. But stop doing these stupid, weird records where only count the conference loss. You're literally the only sport that does that. Stop. It doesn't make sense. That's why you end up sending 3 and 4 loss teams to your championships, and it's a mismatch, and they get blown out. If you do common sense rules, that wouldn't happen. I mean, really think about it, guys. Common sense rules and a lot of this nonsense would go away. I mean, do we like the nonsense? Real question, guys. Do y'all like the nonsense? The stupid, weird little nonsense rules that make college football weird sometimes. You're like, why do we have that rule? Why do they count this but not that? I mean, do y'all like that? I don't. It drives me nuts. It makes no sense. Like for conferences, 2 best teams should play. You count all wins and losses. Pretty simple, right? All wins and losses. And if you need to go to tiebreakers, then you go to tiebreakers. But a 3-loss team should not get into a conference championship over a 2-loss team. No, that doesn't make sense logically. Logically, that doesn't make sense. Well, Indy, I don't even want to see Notre Dame fans comment on this. Y'all ain't never been in a conference except for 1 year, so your opinion doesn't matter on conferences. Oh, man. I do think eventually Notre Dame will either join a conference that they want to join or will be forced to join a conference. I do think that will happen. A lot of people still think it's the Big Ten, but whenever I looked into that rivalry, they don't like Michigan. Like, this is personal. This thing between Michigan and Notre Dame is personal. It's not just like, it's a tradition to hate Notre Dame. They're our rival, blah, blah, blah. No, they genuinely hate Michigan. Michigan is the reason why Notre Dame has not joined the Big Ten. However, I think if Notre Dame is backed into a corner, and they're forced to join a conference, they're of course going to look at the money, and they're not going to be joining the ACC. The ACC is going to disband. In fact, Notre Dame might be one of the reasons why the ACC would disband. Why the ACC gave Notre Dame a nuke vote is beyond me. They're not even a full-time member of the ACC. Hold on. Well, the SEC doesn't do that anyways. The SEC always schedules cupcake out-of-conference games anyway, so it doesn't matter. And if we want to go that route, then lay down a criteria of, everybody has to have at least one Power 5 game out of conference every year. There you go. If you want to schedule your group of 5 and your FCS cupcake, fine, so be it. But one of your out of conference must be a Power 5 opponent. And sometimes it's hard to predict who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. Like, because I understand the argument, well, then they'll try to schedule soft Power 5. I understand that, but at the same time, even that's unpredictable. This year, if you scheduled Kansas as your out of conference, that was not going to be a cupcake game this year. They were much better than they usually are. Now, they slid towards the end because of their depth, but out of conference happens at the beginning of the year. So if you would have scheduled Kansas at the beginning of the year for your out of conference, you could have lost that game this year. They were pretty good. They were pretty good right there. Tennessee didn't play a top 25 Pitt team, right? Number 17 and barely beat them on the road. But, Pitt's kind of bounced back. I got to give Pitt a little bit of credit. I think they finished season 8-4. They beat Miami. They just had a little bit of a slide towards like the middle of the year, but they recovered, and Pitt's going to go to a halfway decent bowl. Pitt could finish in the top 25 if they win their bowl game. I think South Carolina will finish in the top 25. Who do y'all want? What match? I'm going to do a video on this, but while I'm thinking about this, bowl matchups. Now, I understand you have to take in bowl tie-ins and all that stuff. Let's not worry about bowl tie-ins, right? Don't worry about bowl tie-ins. Who do we want to see in these matchups for these bowls? I try to go from the best bowls and then kind of work our way down. Don't really have to do the bottom tier, but if there's still some good matchups out there, then okay, we'll talk about it. So the playoffs, it should be Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC. If those 4 win, well, Georgia and Michigan, they're in no matter what. So if TCU and USC win, they're in. So let's take those 4 off the bowl, okay? Take those 4 off the bowl, off the list, right? Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC. They are off the board. Now, one matchup that I was thinking about, I don't know if it would be the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or whatever, but I think that a matchup that I would want to see this year would be Clemson versus Tennessee. What do y'all think? Battle of orange teams, both of them good, but not great. I do think Tennessee would be the favorite in the game, but I don't think it would be like a blowout, ridiculous, oh man, this was a mismatch. Why did they schedule these two? I think that would be a good bowl. I think it would be a good promotion, just different ways to do it. Battle of the Orange. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Battle of the Orange. Tennessee versus Clemson. Who is the better orange this year? I know Clemson already beat Syracuse earlier in the year, but, they don't count as far as great. Now, they had a decent year, but they fell off. Let's try to keep politics out of this. We're not talking politics. Come on, guys. Let's not go that route. There's other YouTube channels that talk politics. So if you want to do that, go elsewhere. Not in the mood to try to handle people like that. So oranges in the Orange Bowl. Yeah, exactly. Oranges in the Orange Bowl. Clemson versus Tennessee. Orange versus orange in the Orange Bowl. I like it. I like the matchup. I think it would be a good game. Who would get the all orange and who would have to play and who would have to wear the white? I don't know. What I do know is Clemson has this weird tradition that Dabo Swinney started. They only wear orange breeches, and if you're not from the South, that's orange pants for championships. So they only wear orange bottoms for the ACC championship. I'm not sure about the playoffs. I don't know if they count the playoffs as a championship. So I'd have to think about that. I'd have to go back and look at some games. I know they work for the national championship as well. So out of all their color combinations during the regular season, whether it's a home game or an away game, they don't wear orange pants. They don't. They don't wear orange pants. They save that for that's their championship breeches is what they call it. So would an orange ball be good enough for Clemson to wear their orange breeches? Is that a championship for them? I don't know. Orange Bowl championship? Maybe. I don't know. That's something to think about. I don't think Clemson would go purple for a bowl. I think that's just for the military. I think Clemson stays away from purple uniforms or purple pants unless it's the military day. So for Clemson, it's either going to be white jersey, orange breeches, or orange jersey and orange breeches. Tennessee, they could go gray. They could go all white. I got it. If that matchup happened, Clemson should go all orange and Tennessee should go all white. Because remember, their helmets are white with the orange tee. They don't have orange helmets. Clemson has orange helmets. Tennessee has white helmets with the orange decals. So Tennessee should go all white and Clemson should go all orange. By the way, y'all see my mini helmets behind me? One of the major fan bases that I don't have that haven't sent it in, and let me put up my P.O. box for anybody that's interested in that. So there's the address to send gear to represent your team forever. My background, P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657. One of the mini helmets that I don't have, surprisingly, is Tennessee. So if you're a Tennessee fan and you're watching and you're listening, we need a Tennessee mini helmet. So there's the address right there. We do have a Clemson one. You can see it on my bike. Let me go. Yeah, there we go. Right there. Right above my finger. Right there. There's the Clemson mini helmet. So we have a Clemson one, but we don't have a Tennessee one. And hold on. I don't know if I showed y'all the upgrades. Hold on. I know I talk about teams and brands and universities investing that way they can have success and get a return. That's what we're doing here at Golden Bluted as well. So we got these are the LED string lights. We got some of those. We're going to line the shelving with to light up the mini helmets because as you can see, let me move out of the way for a second. As you can see, I have a studio light underneath, and it does okay, but that's not great. That's not clean. And don't worry, we're getting some 2x4s to prop up the shelving. They're bowing just a little bit because that birch is not all that strong. We'll get that fixed. But on top of that, we're going to stretch the shelving all the way to the edge of that door. And then at the very top, we're going to have a shelf that's on the wall from one side of the wall to the other side of the wall. And it will be the top 25 shelf. That top shelf that's going to go wall to wall will be the top 25 shelf. So we have 3 rolls of these LEDs. So we got plenty of lights that we're going to line everything with. It's going to be great for a visual. I'm very excited. So everybody that sent me, pennants, t-shirts, flags, and you don't see it right now, I'm sorry. All right. But we're fixing up the studio and everything will be displayed. So, if you don't want to send a mini helmet, you can send something else. A hat. You can see I have hats behind me, a t-shirt, whatever. You can send anything that represents your team and it will be displayed in the background. But let me do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 23, 25, 28, 31, 33, 36, 39, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. We have 50 mini helmets, guys. How about that? That is pretty awesome. You guys, honestly, you guys have blown me away because I tried this another time. So the year, not this past year, but the year before that in 2021, I did the whole PO box thing, and like I got sent like one thing. I think it was like a bottle. That was it. So took a break, started making money off the channel in the off season. So I'm like, hey, I got some decent money. Let's try the PO box thing again. And this time, boom, you guys absolutely blew me away. Awesome. I really appreciate it. And this background is going to be the best background of any college football YouTube channel. I'm very, very, and this is the point that I try to make with you guys. I'm the voice and I'm the face, but you guys are the channel. I mean, without y'all, there is no Golden Blue. Seriously, there is no Golden Blue. There's no conversation in the comments. There's no likes. There's no, almost 12,000 subscribers. There's no background. Think about that. Without you guys, that's blank. That's blank. I did the math, and for me to get all those helmets, if I were to get them all at once, it would be like close to $1,500. I can't afford that. So it's because of you guys that I even have a background. So I appreciate you guys. Y'all allow me to keep doing this at a full-time capacity. I do this for a living. I do this every day, 24/7, 7 days a week. And it's because of you guys. And I'm blown away, and I appreciate you guys. Awesome stuff. All right, anyways, enough of that wishy-washy stuff. Other matchups that could be interesting. Ferris, thank you for the donation, says, let's make this the gold, maize, and blue channel. I can't do it, man. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. But feel free to start your own, and I'll support you, buddy. Promise. Anybody that's thinking about starting a channel, or you already have a channel and you need a shout out or you need some help, feel free to reach out to me in my email. If I have the time to try to help, I will. Now, I do have a busy schedule, so sometimes it takes time to get back. So have patience, but I try to help as much as I can. Tim, are you interested in jumping on really quick? Because we were actually talking about USC earlier, and I'm wondering why the ESPN analytics actually has Utah as a 61% favorite. That's ridiculous. Or you can come on tomorrow. We'll do another live show tomorrow. I'm actually getting a little tired right now, but it's all right. But anyways, other matchups. If we can make the matchups in the bowl games, and don't worry about bowl tie-ins. That's out the window. Don't think about that, all right? And Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC, those four, out the window, all right? So another matchup that would be good. So you can't have Michigan, you can't have Georgia, you can't have TCU, and you can't have USC. I already picked out Tennessee and Clemson. I think that would be an interesting, very intriguing matchup. Let's see here. Another matchup. Remember, Ohio State's on the board, right? What about let me think. I don't want to go too predictable because I was thinking Ohio State and Alabama, but that's kind of too predictable, right? What about man? But trying to match up somebody that's like that without being too redundant, that is difficult. I'm not even going to lie. That's a little difficult. I'm racking my brain. Who's right behind Clemson in the Atlantic? Has Michigan stopped scoring yet? No, they're still planting the flag at the Horseshoe. They've planted the flag multiple times. Oh man, I thought I could come up with that off the top of my head. Looks like I can't. So I'm going to go to standings and see if I can. And y'all let me know if you think this would be a good matchup, even if it's not. Oh man, that looks awesome or anything like matchup. Would it appeal to you? What about this? What about Florida State versus Ohio State? Florida State is better than people realize, all right? They're 9-3. They did beat LSU to start the season. And maybe Ohio State got a little exposed against Michigan. Maybe there are some weaknesses there that we didn't see. Maybe it could be a good game, something like that. What do y'all think? Ohio State, and I'm not saying winner, who do you have as the winner or anything like that. I'm saying, would you be interested in watching that game? I think I would be. I think I would be very interested in watching Florida State, Ohio State. They both have great brand recognition. I think they're both good. I think it would be a competitive game. Of course, I think Ohio State would win that game. Yes, they would. But I would just like to see it. I would just like to see it. I think that would be I think that's a bowl that people would tune into. Well, compare it to this, all right? Instead of matching Ohio State with, I like Ohio State, Tennessee too. Instead of Ohio State and Florida State and Kansas State. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't have the same. And both teams have a 9-3 record. I would just it would pop out more to me if it was Ohio State versus Florida State. What about Florida State versus Texas? Texas is 8-4. Florida State's 9-3. What do y'all think? Florida State versus Texas. Bama Penn State. That's an old school matchup right there. I like it. What y'all think, guys? Texas versus Florida State. I really like it. I really, really like it. I like Texas and Florida State. Is anybody else feeling it? Texas, Florida State. I am seeing some Alabama's versus Penn State. That actually could happen. That might happen. Alabama versus Penn State. That's a bowl matchup that could actually happen. I like Texas versus Florida State too. I think big brand recognition, TV ratings through the roof. I think it would be a good game. I think the winner would have something to brag about too. I think that would be, even if it's not upper tier bowl, mid tier bowl, still that's something to brag about. I like it. I really, really like it. I would take Texas and Florida State as well. Who else? Who else would be good? Let's see here. Somebody said Notre Dame and Texas. I like it, but I like it a little too much. I don't know if that makes sense. I like it a little too much. I think it makes too much sense. You got two massive fan bases, like considered to be the two biggest brands in the nation. Not the most successful, but the two biggest brands. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would like Notre Dame and Texas. It could be good. Could be good. What about Notre Dame and LSU? You got the Brian Kelly factor. They both have the same exact record now. No, Notre Dame's 8-4. I think they're 8-4. Hold on. But still, that's close. Yeah, they're 8-4. So Notre Dame would be 8-4. LSU would be 9-3. You'd have the Brian Kelly factor. Oh yeah, that has storyline written all over it, and I do think that Notre Dame and LSU could get matched up. And in fact, that I might predict that. I might predict Notre Dame and LSU. I think people want that. I think the bowls will be salivating over that. The storylines are just dripping off that matchup. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. What would be the best? What would be the best group of five bowl? Is there a group of five bowl that would possibly be super interesting? I'm thinking Boise State out of the Mountain West for sure, and maybe match them up with what depends on if they've played them or not. Hold on, let me make sure they haven't played them. Boise State and who all have they played? Okay, I think we're good. Oh, Boise State's going to be playing Fresno State in the Mountain West Championship. That's actually pretty good. All right, so give me. I mean, there's a lot to pick from. Boise State, UCF, Boise State, Cincinnati, Boise State, Tulane. Any of those would be great. Which one would be the best, though? Which one would be the best? No, Tulane's too good to be playing Toledo. They need to be matched up. I would say Tulane and Boise State. If they both win their conference championship, then it should be Tulane versus Boise State, right? Mountain West champ versus AAC champ. If it's UCF that wins the AAC, then it should be Boise State versus UCF. I like it. But Boise State and UCF is probably the biggest one. I think UCF has a bigger brand than Tulane. Even though Tulane's having a better year, UCF has a better brand recognition. I think it would draw in money. I think it would draw in money. All right, let's see if there's one more that I can come up with that's maybe a diamond in the rough that nobody else would, I don't know, come up with. I don't know, guys. I'm going to pick up. What about Oregon, Alabama? Alabama's 10-2. Haven't looked great. Lost to LSU and Tennessee. Oregon, I know they got blown out by Georgia, but besides that, they've had a great year. They lost to their rival on the road, but could be something good. Oregon, Alabama. What y'all think? Oregon, Alabama. I like it. Marshall versus Fresno State. Yeah, I like it. If Marshall and Coastal Carolina weren't in the same conference now, I would take that as a bowl game. But now they're in the same conference, so we can't do that. Now we can't do that. Alabama is not Ferris. Alabama's not that good this year, buddy. They're not. They're not that good. They struggled against Texas A&M. They struggled against Texas. They got flat out beat by LSU. They got flat out beat by Tennessee. They're not that good this year. They would not be blowing people out left and right. Now, if you do a mismatch like Alabama versus, Washington State, then yes, they would blow them out. Or Alabama versus Auburn, of course, they just blew them out. Alabama versus West Virginia, yes, they would blow them out. Alabama, Maryland, yes, they would blow them out. But you stack up Alabama versus anybody with around the same record besides North Carolina, Alabama would blow out North Carolina. Alabama's going to struggle. They're not a good team this year. I think Kansas State would beat Alabama if they played them. I do. TCU would mop the floor with them. Texas and Alabama have played, and of course, Alabama won by 1 point. Alabama-Clemson would be a close game. Not sure who would win that. That's a toss-up right there. But I really don't want to see that again because we've seen it so many times. Alabama-Florida State could be better than people think. Because I think people see Alabama and they're automatically like, intimidated. They remember the good Alabamas. And this is just not that year. And I was incorrect on my prediction. I thought Alabama was going to have one of their best teams that they've had in a very long time. Very, very wrong. I don't know what went wrong in Tuscaloosa this year, but they took a wrong turn somewhere. So you match up Alabama with anybody of their caliber, around their same win-loss record, it's going to be a good game. Alabama's not blowing out anybody that's on the same level. Let's go a little bit lower. I'm going to try to get one more matchup, maybe something that people wouldn't see coming. What about this? Oregon State versus South Carolina. I think that would be a good game. I really do. I've been telling y'all all year that Oregon State is better than people have given them credit for. And, of course, they proved it by beating Oregon at home. They barely lost to USC earlier in the year. And then there's South Carolina. Their last two games, they beat Tennessee and at Clemson. I like it. And, Tim, you already knew what I was thinking, man. I just don't want to get demonetized right here, so I'm just going to let your comments stand. But there, yeah, I mean, puns, wordplay, stories all over the place, competitive game. I think it would be good. I think that would be a pretty good game, guys. Oklahoma State versus Florida. I mean, it'd probably be a good game because they're both very bad. But yeah, I would be fine with Oklahoma State. Florida. I don't know if Oregon State would kill South Carolina, but I think it'd be a good game. I really do. I like it a lot. What about Utah matched up with somebody? Utah and Utah, Tennessee. Seems like that would be a good matchup too. What do y'all think about that? Utah, Tennessee. Utah, Penn State actually could for real happen. Although, if USC beats Utah, then it's probably going to be Utah versus Ohio State again. Holy crap. I didn't even think about that. Seriously, guys. There's a real chance that we're going to see a rematch of Utah and Ohio State for the Rose Bowl again. Oh, yeah. Everybody signed off on Clemson versus Tennessee. We're all in on that one. That would be a good one. Orange on orange. I mean, Utah, Ohio State is a good matchup, but we already saw it last year. That's the only problem with that. And we could see it again if the favorites win. Oh, man. Is there any way to put Penn State in over Ohio State? Guy, not seriously. There is no way around it. Like, this is a fact, guys. If USC beats Utah, wait a minute. If Purdue beats Michigan, then Purdue could go to the Rose Bowl. Purdue, Utah. What about Purdue, Utah? Otherwise, it's going to be Utah and Ohio State. And all it takes is USC beating Utah. Ohio State doesn't play in a championship. They're going to the Rose Bowl. Unless craziness happens. If USC wins and TCU wins, then Ohio State's going to the Rose Bowl. And then, of course, it would be Ohio State and Utah. Man, I don't want to see a rematch on that. Rose Bowls are supposed to be like, wow, I haven't seen that one in a while. Not, oh, man, it's the same one as last year. Man. What about Washington and somebody? I think Washington has I think Washington is an underrated team. I'd like to see Washington and Kansas State. What about Washington and Kansas State? I think that would be a really, really good matchup right there. Or a Washington and Ohio State. That'd be good too. Suicide watch. Can anybody come up with a better matchup for Washington? Who can y'all come up with? We got Washington, Tennessee, Washington, Alabama. Washington, Notre Dame. That's not bad. I still like Washington and Kansas State. That's my favorite one. Or Washington and Penn State. I like Washington and Penn State as well. I think the purple has me thinking Kansas State the most, though. Besides that, I'm not liking Washington and North Carolina, not at all. Washington, Florida State, that could be good too. Washington and Florida State, that could be good too. Washington is not going to make the Rose Bowl because they'll give that to Utah. Washington and Utah is in the Pac-12. They might have actually played already. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I had a lot of fun this evening. I mean, I always have fun, but for some reason, talking about potential matchups that we could literally pick with our own hands, that just made it extra fun. So hopefully you guys had a good time. If you're not a subscriber of Golden Blue Dude, please hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 12,000 subscribers. College football is what we do every single day. We have a live show every day. We do multiple regular pre-recorded videos every day. This is where you want to be, and especially right now because the offseason is tough. When you're a college football fan, the offseason is tough, and I am here to get you through the offseason. You can ask all the other subscribers that have been with Golden Blue Dude through multiple off seasons. I get you through these off seasons. We have stuff to talk about every single day, and I keep you entertained. So hit the subscribe button. At least give us a try. And hey, if you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe. Shout out to everybody that stopped by. I appreciate you guys. Everybody in the comments. Helps with the YouTube algorithm. All them comments. Appreciate you. Hit the like button on the way out. That helps the most. Even if we're not live anymore, it still helps with the algorithm. Y'all have a good, great, wonderful rest of your Monday night. We'll be back tomorrow for the brand new college football playoff rankings. And remember, there's only one more rankings before bowl season. That's after championship week. So these rankings are going to be super important. Let's see what nonsense the playoff committee has for us this week. My gosh, you just never know. Anyways, y'all enjoy the rest of your Monday night, and we'll see you tomorrow for the new playoff rankings.